Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, psst, come here. Have you heard the news? Jeff Bridges. Yeah, the great Jeff Bridges. The dude, the big Lebowski. He's a monster. He is. He's going to be a monster. But not just any old monster. Oh, no. One of the great monsters from the fen swamps. Grendel, the troll, who picks off King Hrothgar's men from the mead hall, eats them, devours them, rips them limb from limb, until he meets Beowulf, the great Geat warrior, who arrives to save the day and battle Grendel and tear his arm off, and he will die. And then Beowulf has to face Grendel's mother, who's even worse. It's been filmed many times. There's been TV versions and big Hollywood versions, full CG blown versions, all sorts of adaptations with different takes, different variations upon it. What is it, of course? The tale of Beowulf, the great Anglo-Saxon poem, a heroic saga done in the Nordic style, but also the Greek and the Roman style. It's epic, it's fantastic, huge horror elements to it, but it's pure bravado and machismo and warrior stuff, and I love it. And we're going to get another version of it with, as I said before, Jeff Bridges is going to be playing Grendel. Now, the slant on this particular version, which is done by the Jim Henson Studios, Jim Henson, Muppets and all that. Jim Henson's sadly long since departed, but his son Brian is the CEO of the company now, and they've released movies and they've done the effects from many other movies. And they're going to be helming this, and it is an unusual take on the Beowulf and Grendel saga. It's based on John C. Gardner's 1971 very short novel of the same title, Grendel, but it's all told from, get this, Grendel's point of view. Yes, so he's going to be our way in. He's our conduit into this old pseudo-Viking sort of saga, and I think it sounds very, very interesting. The cast list is great. I mean, let's go through the rundown of the story itself. I mean, what John C. Gardner did with this is he told it in a very existential, metaphysical sort of way. Lots of philosophizing and theologizing. Yeah, doesn't that sound exciting? But he had all the monster flesh-ripping frenzies and the blood-curdling assaults on the mead hall. And obviously, Beowulf going and doing his thing and beating this bastard off. But what he didn't tend to do, he didn't bring in Grendel's mother. Grendel's mother is there. The hag witch is there. But she whispers and talks to Grendel. But Beowulf, in that story, doesn't actually fight the mother. In the story, he fights Grendel and he wins. But then he realised, oh shit, there's something even worse out there. It's Grendel's mother. So Beowulf has to come out there and fight again. But he has to go and fight on her terms, down in this great big cave underneath the lagoon. And he's given a sword, Humring, I think it's called Humring, half ring, some kind of ring. By Unferth. And Unferth is one of King Hrothgar's retainers, but he's got ideas above his station. He's very ambitious, he's treacherous, and he doesn't like Beowulf, because Beowulf comes in as the hero of the Geats from Geatland. And this guy's got muscles, he's big, and I'm just a slimy wretch. But he does fight with Beowulf, but loses face as well. So he then comes to accept Beowulf is the guy who's going to save us all. So I'm going to present this sword to you. So when Beowulf descends to beat Grendel's mother, he uses that sword. But that sword don't work. And whilst the hag witch is actually on top of him and about to kill him, he sees there's like a trophy wall down there of other people that the Grendel family have slain over the centuries. And there's a great big sword, obviously a giant's sword. But Beowulf can handle that. And he manages to get it, and he beheads Grendel's mother. So he wins the day. But he then beheads the body of Grendel himself. But the blood from that, like alien xenomorph blood, it's like acid, and it burns the blade away. So when he returns topside and Unferth and all the other cronies there, including his geek warriors themselves, he presents Unferth with the sword against, like, oh, the sword saved the day. So he's beneficent, and you know, he's compassionate, and he shows a bit of honour to a guy that was a snake in the grass, but he knows this guy's learned his ways. But the tale of Beowulf doesn't end there, because all the honours bestowed upon him by King Hrothgar and Queen Wealhtheow and Unferth and all the others, like, he still goes back to his homeland, Geatland, to be recognised by his father as the hero and the warrior that he so wanted to prove himself to be. And in the fullness of time, he becomes the king of Geatland, and they get threatened by a dragon. Oh yeah, a bloody big dragon. So he goes and fights that dragon, and he's mortally injured. He kills the dragon, but he dies himself in the process, but becomes the legendary Beowulf, you know, a hero and an icon for generations to come. That's the oldie Anglo-Saxon epic Old English poem, the first told poem that we ever had, first told story in this country, in the UK, and it's been passed down, and scholars have argued over the translations each time, and there's loads of bits which don't really match up, you know, it's like an aside, it's cutting away from the action. So there's versions of it which don't have lots of these other little paragraphs in it and little digressions and character building stuff. It just, the main version you get, it just sticks to the action. And that's the version that you've seen filmed time and time again. I mean, Gerard Butler played Beowulf in a really sort of cold, windswept, very bleak version from about, I don't know, 2010, something like that. And it was Bill Skarsgård playing Grendel. But it was shot on real sort of Danish locations, Scandinavian locations, and yeah, it's got atmosphere to it. And then Robert Zemeckis did the CG animated one with Ray Winston playing Beowulf. I'll slay you all, monster. And Angelina Jolie plays Grendel's mother. Crispin Glover plays the Grendel himself. You've got Brendan Gleeson's in there, and John Malkovich plays Unferth with super sliminess. And you've got Anthony Hopkins as King Hrothgar, prancing around in the nuddy. But it's all CG, and it's great. I've reviewed that version of the movie, or the version of the story. And you've got what you're hearing the soundtrack to right now. This is Jerry Goldsmith's score to The 13th Warrior. Now this film, The 13th Warrior, Antonio Banderas is the Arab who's exiled from his homelands for a bit of indiscretions, and it then becomes the 13th warrior of a band of Vikings who go out to beat off not the Grendel but the Vendole. And the Vendole are a tribe, a vast tribe of bear worshipping cannibals who are laying waste to King Hrothgar's realm. So they become like the Magnificent 13, defending the mead hall and the village from relentless onslaughts of these big, hairy, fanged, but still very human bastards. And it's a wonderful movie. I've reviewed that as well, and that is my favourite telling. But again, you have the basic essence of the story is there, but it's not Grendel, it's the Vendole, a huge tribe. But they're lorded over or presided over by a matriarch, the Mother Vendole, who's got lots of magical tricks up her sleeve and poison as well. And so you've still got the whole basis of it is there, but there's no dragons in that. I mean, it's often told the fire verm, as they call it, which is like a big snaking trail of fire coming down from the mountains, with signifying a big night assault by the Vendal. But Antonio Banderas manages to ride out there to save a little kid, and he sees what this flame really is, and comes back and he tells his band of warriors that he's now joined. He says, like, no, it's cavalry, because it's just the Vendal riding horses with flaming staves and torches. And like they say, I rather fancy the dragon. Now in the Robert Zemeckis version with Ray Winston, dearie me, there is a dragon in it, because their version puts forth that, yeah, you may have killed Grendel, but Grendel's mother, Angelina Jolie, in a nude CG version with a tail and her long, shapely legs dripping with sort of gold, juice. They descend into, her feet have stiletto heels on them. That was a stroke of visual genius, that. But she can manipulate the minds, the hearts of men, and different rulers will fall under her spell and become cursed by her. And she will do this, and she will manage to curse Beowulf himself, who will sire a child with her. But that child is the dragon. Dragons are important to this new version as well, as we shall find out. But the Zemeckis version is visually splendid. You want to catch it in 3D if you can. The 3D was phenomenal. Great soundtrack by Alan Silvestri. And it's an exciting, mythic, tragic tale, as Beowulf should be told. And then we're going to get this new version. Right. And this new version goes back to John C. Gardner's 1971 novel, which only runs to about 180 odd pages, so it's more of a novella, to be honest. And I've read it, but I don't think I've got a copy of it anymore. I just cannot find the copy of it. Otherwise, I would have had it lined up here. And that version was filmed in an animated take on it back in 1981. And I think that was an Australian film. It's very hard to find that movie now. There are bits of it online, but excerpts. And it was called Grendel, Grendel, Grendel. It's a trio of Grendels, a hat trick of Grendels. And if you look at the animation of it, it's kind of weird. I don't like it myself. It's a bit like the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. Yeah, and that kind of bizarre characterization and visuals, and very, very flat. But so that version was done from John C. Gardner's book. But his take on this saga is vastly different. The whole thing is told through Grendel's perspective. He does speak with his mother, and his mother mutters bizarre things to him. He does attack the humans, but he's fascinated by them. He resents them. He wants to understand why he's a monster and they have humanity. So he watches them from afar. He listens to them. He'll go in and he'll rampage and rip people to shreds. But when certain people offer themselves to fight him, he might not fight them or kill them. He can do, but he'll mock them. Unferth gets mocked a couple of times, but Grendel won't kill him because he thinks to himself, like, no. You've lost face here. You can see how it's all paralleling what happens in the original saga, the original poem itself. I'm going to take the piss out of you in front of all your mates. And you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to kill him and her, but you're going to stay alive and know that I mocked you, and I'll mock you forevermore. Grendel is trying to find out his place in life. He's not a tortured, twisted soul. He's quite happy in what he's doing, but he's learning all the time. And what's helping him learn? Well, there's two things. There's a guy called the Shaper, and the Shaper is like a bard, a seer, and Grendel will listen to this guy because this guy enters King Hrothgar's mead hall and joins them. But in the course of his discussions with Hrothgar and all the warriors, Grendel listens, and this guy, he plays a flute and all that, he's a big musician. But this bard sort of exposes the lies, hypocrisy, and deceit of mankind. And Grendel's, this is fascinating stuff. So he's getting that. He's getting mutterings from his mother, but he's getting spiel from someone else. He ventures deeper into the caves, and he finds, yes, a dragon. And this dragon is a talkative soul. But what he says doesn't make a lot of sense either. So poor Grendel's getting it every which way, and it's no wonder he's completely confused. I've got no idea. Why do I exist? Why do they exist? Should I eat them? Yes, I should. Do I love my mother? Maybe I do. Where am I going? I'm going to go back to the meat hall and kill some more. Then I'm going to come back and think about it all over again. It is a very strange story. It is. But it's a nice take. You've got the violence in there. Beowulf's in there as well. Sorry, I should have said that. Beowulf does arrive. So you get all of that stuff going on. And Beowulf does slay, rip the arm off, take the arm off Grendel. And Grendel then goes back into the recesses of the cave. If I remember rightly, I think he sinks himself into this deep lagoon. So he just spirals down into the abyss. A bit like Jaws does in Peter Bensley's novel. Not the movie of Jaws, of course, but harpooned and got barrels on him and dragging Quint's body down. The shark seemingly dies of exhaustion. Quint doesn't get chomped, he drowns and gets dragged behind the shark, and the shark, as Brody watches, just spirals down, knackered, into the abyss and dies. And that's kind of what Grendel does at the end of Grendel. No, spoiler alert, sorry about that. But this film, which is not scheduled to see the light of day cinematically until 2026, so it's a long time off. If that's probably going to tell a lot of this story from that that style, but they may change the ending somewhat. But Grendel always dies. He never survives it. Otherwise, you're totally reinventing the wheel, aren't you? So anyway, let's have a look at who's actually in this. Besides Grendel, Jeff Bridges playing Grendel, which I think is outstanding. Beowulf is Dave Bautista. Yeah, big muscle-bound Dave Bautista, who I like. I never saw him as Beowulf, to be honest. He's kind of more exotic than that. But anyway, we shall see. Bryan Cranston plays King Hrothgar. Thomasin McKenzie from Last Night in Soho plays Queen Wheelthrow. Aidan Turner, the great Aidan Turner, Poldark, and was he Killy, Dilly, Millie Vanilli in The Hobbit? One of the dwarfs. He plays, who's he play? Oh, Unfair. So he's the Machiavellian one working behind the scenes, the one that gives ham thing, whatever, the sword to Beowulf, and becomes an ally of him, albeit reluctantly. But playing the dragon, oh God, I can't believe this. Sam Elliott, the great Sam Elliott. You've got the world's greatest cinematic hippie in Jeff Bridges, and you've got the world's greatest cinematic cowboy in Sam Elliott, in a film set in Daneland, Denmark, in the 5th century. What the hell? What gives? I think that's going to be amazing. So, quite clearly, oh, hang on. There's another cast member as well. T-Bone Burnett playing the Shaper. Remember the Shaper I said was the bard, the seer that comes in, that so fascinates Grendel. So you've got one of America's greatest singer-songwriter guitarists, used to work with Bob Dylan a lot, playing this Shaper. Now he's an old man now as well. And I'm saying that, but so is Jeff Bridges. They're all getting on a bit, aren't they? But I think it's a nice bit of casting there. I don't know who's playing Grendel's mother. Now, in the resume I gave you or the plot synopsis of John Gardner's novel that this is based on, the mother does play a part. She is in there. But clearly once Grendel's died, you don't find out what happens afterwards because, Grendel's dead, so he's not going to know what happens, is he? But Beowulf will go after his mother. And but there's no name that I've got, that I've seen, to be cast as Grendel's mother, which is interesting. Now the film was directed by, I've got to read this, Richard D. Krzyzkowski. He's the guy that did The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot, which is a film that I've got and never watched. I've got it. I thought, what the hell, when this was getting advertised and first getting touted, I thought, that's a lengthy title, that. Hitler and Bigfoot. What the hell? But it stars Sam Elliott. And of course, this guy's brought Sam Elliott back to play the dragon in this version of Grendel. Now, I've got that film, as I say, and I've got to dig it out and watch it. It did get some fairly good reviews. I know it sounds bizarre, but apparently it works really well. So, no idea who's doing the music or even who's doing the effects. Now, it's the Jim Henson Studios. What do? It's puppetry. Muppetry, if you like. They do get involved in sort of visual effects as well. But they create practical effects on set, in the frame, it's there. So how is this film going to be done? How is Jeff Bridges going to be transformed into this huge, hideous troll? Is it going to be makeup? Is it going to be prosthetics? A big rubber suit? Let's face it, Jeff Bridges has done this sort of thing before. Tron, of course. And what was the other one he did? Oh my god, what was the other one he did? He's in King Kong, but he wasn't wearing a monkey suit in that, was he? Although he was hairier than Kong was at the time. Iron Man. He's an Iron Man. He plays, well, did they actually call him Ironmonger in it? He fights Tony Stark. He's Obadiah Stane, who's his arch enemy, or becomes his arch enemy, in another great big Iron Man suit. Massive big climactic battle. So he's no stranger to being in effects-driven movies and being disguised. Just his face is going to be on show. But in this, I can imagine you're not going to see Jeff Bridges in this at all. You're going to hear his voice. He might be mo-capped. I don't know. Are they going to go that road? If it's mo-cap, then it's been done before. Robert Zemeckis did all that with Ray Winston and Anthony Hopkins and Crispin Glover and Angelina Jolie. Imagine putting those dots on. Kilt-Man, I think she's got enough dots on her. I'm just doing this area here. It's a bit bereft, of dottage. So that's been done. So this is the film is meant to be a live action version. So prosthetics, bodysuits. I hope they're going to do that. I hope it's not going to be like let's just do some facial contortions. I mean, Jeff Bridges can look pretty. Once he shaved off his hair and grew his beard to play Ironmonger, his image changed completely. He kept on having that big beard. And that strong face of his, very linear, very aquiline, almost Roman style visage that he has. But with the shorter hair, and even when he's got slightly longer hair and it's all slicked back, it's a very prominent face. When he used to be good looking, now he's quite severe. And that could work. But I still think we need warts and stuff and one single horn and a big mad eye. Ooh, just remembered. Little whiskies. Yeah, that's what I'm reduced to now. And this is the Welsh single malt whiskey called Penderyn. I've done a video on this. We went to the distillery and this stuff's fantastic. But it's just little, it's miniature. It's one of those where you've got to put your entire lippage around. Well, I won't go into details, but you can't sip it. You've got to go. Otherwise, nothing comes out. Ooh, nice. I've already done the other one in. But I am looking forward to this. I think I can never get enough of the whole Beowulf saga. But as I say, you'll find out if it's true to the book, it's all through Grendel's perception and his understanding, which will be warped and twisted anyway. He'll be spying and listening on all the Danes and the Geats all conversing and watching and learning from them, and then learning to humans, they're kind of worthless, aren't they? And he struggles with all this, the existential theories behind existence. Yeah, it doesn't sound like gripping, does it? And yet, it does, because he does, his conclusions, it's like he comes to an understanding of humanity and let's all live as one big happy family. Oh, no, not at all. He's a bastard still, but he has fun being a bastard. And as I say, he likes to taunt people that he doesn't kill and leave them in ridicule and humiliation. I think it could be great. And obviously with Jeff Bridges' voice, it could be brilliant, so I've got a lot of high hopes for this. It's got a long time off though, And a lot could happen between now and then. Sometimes I don't like hearing about films which have been announced and they're in development. You've got a cast lined up, the director, we're starting to film it. It still doesn't mean that's ever going to come out. How many films have been delayed and delayed, or they've made them and then they've been just shelved? Like Batgirl, you're never going to see that. What's it called? Salem's Lot, the new version of Salem's Lot, which by all accounts, people who've seen it, we're not missing anything. But that's been shelved, went to HBO, it got delayed, cancelled, delayed, and then went to HBO. And I'm hearing now that even that release date has been delayed as well. So they really have got zero confidence in that movie. I'm not saying that's going to happen with this, but you never know. Nothing's guaranteed these days in Hollywood, nothing. But I want to see this. I think there's legs in the Beowulf and Grendel saga. There's definitely different ways you can interpret it. The heroic saga has been done to death, but there is a nice dark slant to it because the original poem, it's pure heroism. But now we have to reinvent that, rework it, reimagine it. So our heroes are always flawed, or they may be full of machismo and bravado, but they will learn the error of their ways and learn to be humble because of their deeds. And they may set their act of heroism and bravery may also set in motion something disastrous for other people and for their own soul, perhaps. So there's a lot to interpret with this sort of thing. And then again, from the monsters side of things, I liked the Zemeckis version, which I've forgotten who wrote that now. I did do a big review of this, so I've gone through all this before. But he can't stand the sound of merriment in the mead hall. That sounds simplistic, I know, but they're all like partying. They've all got their drinking horns and all that. Boom, boom, boom. They're dancing, they're carousing, they're pissed as farts all the time. And that sound is travelling. And you know, I kind of like this as well because it goes into the swamps. Sound is amplified in anywhere that's wet, moist. You go outside after a rainstorm, you can hear things far better. From the trees, from cars, from buildings. A wet residue will amplify the acoustics, so you can hear better. Again, from the Marines, I noticed from the Marines, we were trained to listen and to don't move after the rainstorm. Either move very, very quickly or don't move at all because you're going to give the entire game away. But you stop and you listen and you pinpoint enemy or whatever might be out there. So hunters do this as well. But I like the fact that in this, you know, because it's a swampy area, I wonder how can the sound from all that way off travel all the way to his cave? But because Grendel is a mutated, deformed troll, one of his ears is completely exposed. So his inner ear, all the sounds of it drives him mad, and he's like howling with anguish. Crispin Glover delivers a fine performance, which is genuinely tragic and upsetting, but he is frightening at the same time, and he rips people to shreds, and he's having delectation, ripping the sinew from someone's severed arm, you know, and slurping it down. But you can understand why it's driving him crazy. So there is a psychology behind his attacks. In the original poem, I was going to call him Gollum then, another guy that lives in caves and is a bit unworthy and untrustworthy and nasty. But Grendel doesn't like them having fun in the poem. That is one of the prime instigators of his attacks. That's the original poem. And John C. Gardner just took it in a different route. You know, like, they're doing their thing, I'm doing my thing, but is my thing actually worthwhile? I'm going to go and watch these people a bit. I'm going to rip them apart. Because I can, because I'm bigger and nastier than them. And I'm going to have fun doing it. And then I'm going to go back and sit on a rock and think about what I've done. Was it right? Was it wrong? Who cares? I'll do it again. Maybe I'll make up my mind afterwards. And that's how that story goes. So it is a weird concept, I know, but as I say, I'm way looking forward to it. Anything with swords and monsters, yeah, and deep dark caves, and limb lopping and flesh ripping. Hey, count me in. Cheers, you all. Oh, that is so unfulfilling. But lovely at the same time. Cheers, Joe. And Sam Elliott playing the dragon. I mean, is he going to have his characteristic drawl? That cowboy drawl of his? I always remember in the film We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson playing the true stuff, well, sort of true. It's based on a real, much, much bigger and hugely more impactful battle. The first of the US 7th Cavalry, who ditched their horses and rode helicopters instead, go into the Badlands for a massive 3-day campaign where they're hugely outnumbered by the Viet Cong and the NVA. And Mel Gibson plays Colonel Hal Moore. It's a wonderful movie. I do love it, and I have reviewed it as well. But his trusted, second in command is Sam Elliott. And Sam Elliott, with shorter hair, a buzz cut, he won't take an M16. And they're going this is the new weapon. You got to use this. And Mel Gibson's saying to him, you want one of these? Don't worry, sir. When the time comes, there'll be plenty of them lying around on the ground. But he's got his trusty, 45 automatic. And then there's a lull in the battle, and they're surrounded on all sides, and they've got men who are cut off in the bush and all that. Sounds wrong, but they're trying to get to them. And they've got helicopters coming in to ferry out the wounded. They are being decimated. And they're firing on all fronts. But Sam Elliott is guarding all the wounded. And suddenly they hear there's a lull. And he realises they're coming for us next. And his line is, he's got his 45. He goes, "Gentlemen, prepare to defend yourselves!" And I love it. If you were lying there, you'd be going, what did he just say? What was that? Captain, you say it again, please. I love his voice. So to hear that emanating from a dragon is going to be priceless. So again, I'm presuming Bautista will be Bautista. Are they going to give him hair? I don't know. And who else have we got? Cranston and Thomasin McKenzie. They're going to be themselves, aren't they? Costumes. Aidan Turner will be himself. The Sam Elliott and Jeff Bridges, they're going to have to transform them. They can't just be themselves. Unless you're doing, again, like Lord of the Rings, I suppose, where using visual techniques, you're going to make Jeff Bridges, although still be Jeff Bridges, a lot taller than everybody else, seemingly. Like Gandalf with the hobbits, or Gandalf with the dwarves, They could do it that way. But you're still going to make him monstery, haven't you? He's got to look monstrous. He's got to. I think that the big selling point is Jeff Bridges as this badass fucking troll. As far removed from the dude as you can possibly get. Although he does do a lot of internalising, monologuing and thinking, So maybe it isn't that far removed. Or he's going to be balding severed heads, perhaps. No, I think it would be great. And this T-Bone Burnett, that's kind of inspired. Again, this guy's old. And I know he's the same sort of age as Jeff Bridges, but Jeff Bridges still looks fit and healthy. T-Bone Burnett, I don't know, anything could happen, couldn't it? So I'm discussing a movie which I haven't even begun to film yet, and I've pontificated and ruminated upon it and speculated a lot. But hey, that's what I'm here for, folks. At the time of this recording, in about 3 hours time, the first critics' reviews of Furiosa will be out. Because it played yesterday at Cannes, out of competition, so it's not up for any awards or anything like that. But it's out of competition just for the fans at Cannes. And as you know, it's the film I'm most looking forward to this year. It's the big event for me. And so in a few hours time, the first genuine critic reviews will be out. Oh yeah. So, there's stuff to think about. Furiosa and Grendel. Long time off, but there you go. The 13th Warrior. I'll put links below to my review of The 13th Warrior and of Beowulf, the Ray Winstone version, which is good. It's doomed, it's tragic. It has an air of colourful melancholy about it, but it really works. There's a great atmosphere there. I always think it's kind of lacking one. It needs another action sequence, but what you do get is actually really good and quite clever. But it doesn't hang upon the action. That's great, but you've got the story as well, and the haunting aspect of it, the bewitching aspect of it, and that's worth its weight in Angelina's gold. Anyway, folks, there you go. You can still get John C. Gardner's book from 1971. That poor guy died in a horrible motorcycle accident. I think he was only about 49 as well. So, life is fragile and it can end at any moment. So make the most of every moment while you're alive. That's what I say. So, the sun is out. The guns are out, and I'm gonna nip out and have some proper whiskey in a big glass. You know, not these little half-assed little miniature bottle things, which look cute, but they're gone within seconds. See what I mean? You all thought I was going to down that in one there, didn't you? But yeah, I'm still going to breathe, you know. And if you get your lips around that and you seal it as like a vacuum, I'm going to choke to death. But 13th Warrior, well worth it. Great version. Funnily enough, when I talk about 13th Warrior to people, real life people, friends, you know, in the pub and wherever, mates of mine, they all know it and they all love it. And I had a great discussion with my good mate Ian, who looks like a cross between, oh Christ, what's his name now? The guy who played a Mandalorian, I forgot his name now. A cross between him and Eric Bana. And I've mentioned him before, in fact. And we were in the pub the other day, and he said something about the 13th Warrior, and I went, oh God, yeah, one of my favourite movies. And the two of us began to quote the movie, left, right and centre, and mention all the actors, including the Scandinavian actors. And like, we had a ball doing it, and I was surprised that he knew as much about it as he did. I thought, I'm the guy that knows all this. But that's my point. Everyone I speak to, if this comes up in conversation, they all love it. And yet if you go on forums, whatever, movie forums, sword and sorcery forums, you know, anything, and this gets mentioned, a lot of people, you know, laughter, the laughing emoji, oh it was crap, that one, it's rubbish. So I find it strange, and critically it was quite badly mauled at the time when it first came out, because it was Michael Crichton's original novel, Eaters of the Dead, which is there somewhere, yes, right there, filmed by John McTiernan, one of the greatest action directors ever, with, lest we say it, Predator and Die Hard. That's it. You aren't going to make any other movies at all. If you've done those two, you are a god of action cinema. But he made The 13th Warrior. But his version of it is not what you see, because Michael Crichton, yes, the great Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park, Westworld, didn't like what McTiernan had done, so locked him out the editing suite, and then chopped and changed the film, took out the original score and drafted in Jerry Goldsmith to do a brand new score in really, you know, whip crack time, and you're hearing it. Now I love this score. It's hard to imagine the film without this score. And even the film is clumsily edited. You can tell there's chunks of story have gone, and there's characters of the 13 warriors. There's 2 or 3 who clearly would have had a much bigger role, but they're seen for a second and then they're gone. They're killed either very quickly or they're just forgotten about, simple as. And it's annoying, but it's testament to just how bloody good that film is, that even with all these things happening to it, a brand new soundtrack thrust upon it, loads of edits, clumsy edits at that, it still works, and works so well that it's genuinely moved people that I speak to, and I'm sure you're the same. I'm pretty certain you're the same. There'll be a string of comments like, it's shit, 13th Warrior is the worst one I've ever seen. God. I've opened the floodgates and I'm like, I don't care. I don't listen anyway. I think it's amazing. And I watch it regularly. And I'm lucky enough to have, I think it's the German Blu-ray of it as well. And on one of my machines, because it's got burns, it's got forced subtitles on it. So we play the English track, the German subtitles come up. But on one of my machines, it's the Panasonic. You can move the position of the subtitles and you can lower them off the screen. So I gets around it, I does. Yes. Not every machine can do that. But it was great. And I love the movie. Why hasn't it got a proper legit special edition Blu-ray or UHD? It's visually beautiful to look at. It's sublime. And on the same topic, why have we not got a 3D version of Beowulf? There is a version of it out there, but it's bloody expensive. And again, it's foreign. But it probably is worth it, you know, because the 3D on that is pretty damn good. I know no one's asked about 3D now, are they? But yeah, certain movies I'll only watch in 3D. Creature from Black Lagoon, gotta be 3D. It Came from Outer Space, gotta be 3D. What is it? Oh God, Horrors of the Black Museum. Menace of the Black Museum. Black Museum anyway. Horror of the Waxworks. Whatever the fucking movie's called. Done by Done by a guy called Andre de Toth. And Andre de Toth only had one eye patch. And you can't see 3D with only one eye. You can't. And he had to work out how to make, what's it called? Murders in the Black Museum. He had to work out mathematically how to film this in 3D. And yet the 3D is incredible. And I'm going to say it, Prometheus. If I'm going to watch Prometheus, I'm only going to watch it in 3D, only. And believe you me, I don't want to watch Prometheus. But that's the way to watch it, because the 3D, it's not popping in your face, but it's just great dimensionality, and the sets, the scenery, the imagery goes back and back and back and back. And it's just relentless. So your sense of depth and realism and being in the scene is incredible. And Beowulf has got that as well, Zemeckis' version. It looks great in 3D, it genuinely does. But I haven't seen it since the cinematic days in 3D. So, semantics, folks. You can't do it in one. You've got to unhook your lips. Of course, if Angelina Jolie was doing this, you know, the entire full-blown litre bottle, straight in, never to be seen again, sucked dry. I'll leave you to think about that, and you girls as well. Right, folks, I have been on Which I Be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, it's ever, let's venture forth into that cave and slay a troll in between time. Please keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all. I will report back on the reviews that we see of Furiosa. Of course I am. And while I think on, I've had this for over a week now, way over a week, almost 2 weeks in fact. A mystery canvas from our good friend, you know him, you love him, Steve 007 Smith, the benefactor of all of these canvases you see around me. Oh, and by the way, Brother the Wolf, yeah, one of my favourite movies of all time. Jim Henson Studios did the creature effects for that movie. Yeah, the great big beast of Gabodon, that is a big puppet animatronic which they created. There is some CG as well, which is the only thing in that movie which doesn't work for me, is the CG. Otherwise, that film is perfection on every frame from its extended cut. Every frame, you can freeze it, and it's a work of art. That is an amazing film. But some of the CG is a little bit not quite as good. But Steve sent this almost 2 weeks ago now, and I have not had a chance to open it, which sounds ridiculous, but trust me, I always try to set time aside to do the unveilings, and there's been other stuff that's cropped up, so I'm going to do this. If not later on today, it'll be tomorrow, I guarantee it. I know Steve's going, yeah, you bastard, I sent you that and you haven't even fucking bothered to open it, have you? I like to do it properly. And I also, it's a mystery, but it's not a mystery because he basically told me what it is. So I know what it is. And it's going to be revisiting a great old film, which I have reviewed as well. See, I've been doing this thing for years now. I keep saying, oh, I've reviewed that. If I put the links down to all the films I've reviewed, there'd be no room for comments underneath my videos. But anyway, please do comment. And while I think on, let's do what every other YouTuber does. Oh, like, subscribe, tell your friends, share the video. Oh, just get everyone involved. Why not? More the merrier. I don't really care. But it's a bit of fun. But more people might enjoy this. So please, tell your mates. Get them involved. Allow them into the Kilted clan. And let's have some fun. So, ta-da. And watch out for trolls. Especially these ones who pretend that they're thinking. They're sitting on a rock. I'm not aggressive. No, I'm thinking about life, existence, the meaning of it all. But I fancy ripping your head off as well. Yum, yum, yum.